Hello and welcome. You are watching Coffee Break with Vanessa. We're here every single Thursday talking about how you can change the world simply by loving your own. Welcome back to the show. Super, super excited to have these two very special guests on the show, which I'm very lucky to call my friends. We have Eric and Pandora on the show. Hello.
Thank you for having us.
Yay! I'm so stoked. For those of you, it's your first time watching the show. These conversations are intended to share with people, from people that are changing the world in their own way. And the reason I was so called to have them on the show is because they are shifting consciousness when it comes to relationships. And when I thought about who else would I rather have, it had to be you guys. So this is not scripted. I never sent them any questions. So it's really in the moment, transparent, authentic conversations. And most of the guests that I've interviewed, I've been really asking them, like, you see, we're all on this conscious aware path now, right? But it wasn't always this way for us. We all came from a different path and a different walk of life. And so for the audience to kind of get a feeling of where you were before this path that you're living now, could you give us some insight and share a little bit about who you were before all of this? Yes.
Like in relationships?
In yourself, and then maybe in relationships, because that's definitely the topic of this conversation.
I think a large portion of my life has always been I know what I want, but I didn't feel like I would be accepted for it. But I think everyone goes through that in different ways. So I would do things with my outward appearance, like pierce myself or do things with my hair that no one, my friends or parents, would be like, yeah, do it. They'd be like, don't do it. So I'd be like, whatever, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've always felt like I've just done things with this awareness of I want to do that and not hold back in certain ways. So, I don't know. I've always felt like I've just been there. I've just allowed myself to be more of it and be more intentional with it.
Got it.
Rather than like a huge,
big
wow,
shift or awakening.
I need to now do the things I want. I was like, oh wow, I'm already doing it.
Very cool.
But I just didn't fully accept it. So I didn't feel fully accepted.
I definitely shared, still do actually, that same trait of like being a little bit of a rebel throughout my life and like doing things because I wanted to do them, but also being inspired by controversy and things that weren't necessarily approved or were taboo. I've always been a little inclined to go there. Yeah. So
do you say that would that's always been sort of the case, and that sort of led you to this more conscious aware path of existence? Or?
It's always been a little bit of the case. I feel like in the past it might have been caused by other triggers too and traumas, and in the past while it's been more conscious and wanting to like truly explore those paths that aren't so common or they're a little more taboo, and from a heart-centered place, just because out of curiosity or spontaneity. Yeah.
And then the main thing too with you guys is like you're one of the most probably beautiful couples I've ever seen in my life. I just want to take a picture of you guys and keep it on my wall. But then what's more beautiful is the way that you relate with one another. You know, there is this new shift, awakening, however you want to call it, that people are talking about, and how we relate to people, relationship is a big deal. And the taboo and also like the constraints of what society thinks relationships should be and how you interact with each other. Coming from a heart-centered place, I feel like as a couple, you guys are really like going through uncharted territory in a way. Like I'm sure it's been done before, but you're really open about it too. And I've seen how you've communicated with each other. There's so much love and openness. And I mean, did you create that from the get-go when you met, or is that something that was cultivated over time? Like, how did that start?
I feel like that there's always been some understanding since the beginning of this idea that we weren't ever going to be so like attached or become this codependent relationship, I think, especially from our past and experiencing those relationships and not being fulfilled and being trapped, especially for myself. And so we kind of had this understanding since the beginning. We just didn't get to talk about it until a little bit later on. So it was definitely a development in communication, and it has been since the beginning. And it's always new developments over, like, what do we want to create? What are our boundaries? What do we want to move on to? What are we comfortable with? And how do we want to relate to each other and to other people?
Yourself? Yeah, I see you nodding a lot.
Yeah, it's a similar thing that I was, like, through our past relationships, it built this kind of foundation for us to have a certain sense of understanding of not being too possessive with someone in this idea of love, and acknowledging each other's feelings and where they're at and being okay with that, right? So, and also, when you're in a relationship, things from your past are gonna come into your awareness if you want to do new things. So it's always a constant realizing, okay, the past, I'm being triggered. We have to talk about this, right? From the past, like, your past is gonna come up. We live in the past most of our life, right? Until we work through it, whatever you want to call that, shadow work, making things work from what I was hurt from before, right?
So it sounds like there's a lot of communication.
That's
like
definitely
the biggest rule that we have with each other, is to communicate things as soon as we can with each other.
There is one rule, and it's honesty.
Yes.
Truly. Like, to me, there are no unforgivable things. There's nothing that you can do that's just going to make me run away or walk away from you unless you're not being honest. Like, it can always work. We can always work it out. Everybody can always work it out if you're honest with each other, and if you keep the line of communication clear.
But see, that's the big thing, especially in relationships, I find. It's like, or the relationships I grew up watching or even experiencing amongst my friends. It was like, well, I can't tell him that I feel this way, or else he's going to get upset and he's going to think it's about him. And, you know, and so we hold back telling our partner what we're going through or what thoughts we're having, even if it's like being unhappy. Some people, like, are unhappy like 6 months ago, but they don't talk about it until it's too late, kind of thing. So it's like, it's totally counterintuitive to the way people relate to each other. So when you say, like, yeah, there's honesty, it's like, can you actually go to each other and be like, I'm freaking pissed, I don't want to be with you anymore, kind of thing? Like, is it like, I'm feeling that? Like
the key thing with honesty is honest about all things, your feelings, your thoughts, your actions, and that's it, right? Anything that is you're feeling, you can be honest about, because we've created a space for each other to express. Whereas most of the time we don't allow that for people, because we already have our way to look at it instead of just listening, right? The idea of listening is a big thing that we've been realizing more and more, and that's the hardest thing we do with, like, a person that we love. We usually create this non-listening for them, and then things go funny. You know, we argue in different things. But, you know, we can yell at each other, we can get mad, we can express ourselves from what we did or what we're feeling.
And then you just give each other time and space, or do you talk it through? Like, it
depends on the situation, right? Whatever we're feeling.
You guys have been together now for how long? 2 years almost?
Almost 2 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
Yeah. And I was there for your wedding. Your wedding. I remember your wedding. It was a great wedding. We got married at Burning Man. Which was, what was that like? I mean, your vows are probably some of the most inspiring vows I've ever heard, because what I heard in those vows was complete honor, respect, like, I see you and I don't own you. And there's so much freedom, which is the opposite of what people think about with marriage. They're like, I don't know, I don't want commitment, that's too much. And then here you were, like, consciously committing and creating something, but that gave you more freedom, which is, like, the new conscious relationship. I think it's the direction that we're supposed to be going in for our evolution. So, yeah, what are your thoughts about that? Like, getting married, you would think like, you know, the taboo labeled spiritual conscious person doesn't want to get married. So to see you guys actually going and making those vows, what brought that about?
I never wanted to get married, and I've never been a relationship person because I felt so trapped in relationships and always experienced people that were like so possessive, and never wanted to, because I attached the idea of marriage and even commitment as this like somebody taking my freedom away. But in realizing in this relationship that being committed to someone doesn't mean being codependent. It doesn't mean being so attached that you can't be yourself. It means that you're devoted to this one person, but you're not totally giving yourself away. You're devoted to both of your happiness as like individuals, and we are committed to being individuals, to keeping us separate as separate beings and coming together like in a celebration. My ultimate like goal and idea is to have a relationship where you're fully just individuals who love each other and you hang out a lot. And maybe other things, but you're just individuals. You're not that, you don't become this one relationship blob, you know, like this one married couple. Exactly. Totally happens.
The couple, right?
Yeah.
It's now a thing.
And you have
the
to
other, it's not a thing.
You have to so consciously like try to not be that, because especially when you live together, you hang out so much that we could definitely feel codependency creating throughout our relationship. But you have to be aware of that and try to not do it.
Right. And give each other the space to be your own individual
person. Like do the things that you like to do and let them do the things that they like to do.
No one's gonna be like you.
Like have your own friends.
No one's gonna be like you.
So it's like, if I want to do something, I can't expect her to just want to do it every single time I want to do something.
Right.
And she can't expect that from me.
Right.
Because we're individuals.
Right.
I mean, you have to acknowledge that.
Right.
Or else we're just gonna hold ourselves in and be like,
yeah,
I'll just do what you want to do. Which is what I used to do in past relationships. I'll just do what you want to do. What do you want to do? Wait, what do I want to do? Who the hell am I?
And I used to be like, I'll do whatever the fuck I want to do. Bye.
Right.
So it was like total opposites.
Yeah.
And I feel like we balance each other out in those ways.
Yeah.
Like me bringing the like very individual part of it, and him bringing in the co-creational part of it.
Yeah.
And meeting in the middle somewhere.
Wow. It's beautiful and inspiring. Like, I said this at your wedding reception that you're probably, because you're substantially younger than me. I won't say how much, but you're probably like I hear older people, even older than me, like, oh, these kids don't know anything about relationships and what it's like, and like that kind of narrative. And so it's very true. Like, you guys inspire me and the kind of relationship that I want to have and that I want to cultivate and create, because it is so important right now, like you said, to be an individual, to stand on your own, and then to just share with someone, right? And I'm just newly like testing those waters myself in my own personal life, and it's like you really consciously like in communication, like, this is what I want to create, and are you down? And yes, no, this is what I want. Right. And like really partnering, right? Does it ever come up where, because I mean, for me, it's this whole thing, I got triggered, I think on Saturday, I was like, I have this fear of letting go and trusting, because I'm afraid he's just going to change his mind and leave. Right? And I got clear. I'm like, oh shit, that's totally the same thing because of my dad. What you were saying, like your past triggers, right? Like, that's my dad. My dad left. So that has to do with my dad. It doesn't have to do with him, but he's showing me that I haven't healed that yet, right? And the point in me sharing that is there is this thing of like the other person being interested in other people and maybe leaving you for someone else, or does it mean something about me that he's like super connected with this other human being? Do you guys, I mean, what do you have to say about that?
It's a crazy thing. Recently we came to this development like a new stage of a relationship where we totally recognize that at whatever point, at any point, we could just be done with each other. That could happen. Like you get married and you love this first person forever until forever is done, right? Forever for now.
Yeah.
And we realize that, wait, we're actually totally okay with that. If at one point we don't feel like being with each other, then that's what we're gonna do. The only commitment here is to each other's happiness. And if Eric is more happy being with someone else, then yeah, I'm gonna be hurt, but yeah, I want him to go do that. But also, it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Right.
At least for our relationship, it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like, we're open to connecting with other people.
Okay.
And we're actually happy about it. We encourage it, and we get really excited over it.
Really? So you guys get excited for each other's connections with others?
Totally.
It's the idea, again, of, like, having your own individuality and also the honesty, because, honestly, we have feelings for people. We don't have feelings for every single human being, obviously, but there's going to be people that are going to shine a little more in your eye when you see them. And we can openly communicate about that and not shame it or shun it, right? It's not wronged, it just is. That's a feeling. And we just openly communicate about that. And we can get excited about it with each other.
That's freaking awesome.
And it happens with everyone, right? We just don't talk about it, and we hide it. And that's exactly what tripped me out about relationships. I was like, I don't want to be dishonest with the person that I hang out the most and that I love the most. Like, why? This is my best friend. I want to tell him everything.
Yeah.
I want to tell him if I find a human cute
Yeah.
and if I want to connect with them, and I want him to get excited, and I want to hear about his relationships as well.
That's reminds me of Osho's book, Being in Love, where he talked about, like, he was talking, it's a series of talks and they record it, and he's talking to this woman who was, like, upset about her husband looking at other women, and he's like, you should be happy that he's looking at other women. It's when he's looking at other men that maybe you should have a conversation about it. You know, Osho is the spiritual guru of life. I love him. But that's uncharted territory, and that's uncomfortable for some people.
Totally.
And it triggers, because it's like, oh my God, like, is that safe? Is that normal? Is that okay? Like, it's not at all accepted in society norms. It's looked at, like, what I love what you said, there's, like, no shaming or wronging. It's just a human being having an experience. What would you say to people that are in committed loving relationships that do want to open up to this possibility of just being more honest with each other about, you know, their own personal experience with other people?
I think, like, creating a solid foundation with each other. And when I say that, I mean, again, just having honesty, having open communication with one another, with your thoughts, your feelings, and having a sense of trust. Because if you don't trust someone, how are you going to trust them with anybody else? You know, it doesn't make sense.
So there's a huge amount of trust already built. It's not something like you're going to use to fix a relationship that there's no trust in.
Totally. It's because you're so solid in your relationship that you would feel comfortable even going there, even opening up to other people. And I feel like if you are looking to go there, you should probably start with baby steps, not just go and sleep with someone right away. You know, just establish boundaries for yourself and for your partner and discuss what you're comfortable with. Oh, maybe I'm comfortable with you going and just hanging out with another girl at her house and not doing anything else. Oh, maybe now I'm comfortable with you cuddling her. Oh, wait, the thought of you kissing her is okay. And just seeing how it goes. Oh, maybe that's not okay right now, because it can change too. Like, maybe you're feeling really good about yourself and just really in your power, really in your individuality, and you're okay with a lot more things. And then maybe something happens and you're not that confident and you're not that happy, and wait, I have to back it up a little bit, and I'm not okay with this right now. Like, I'm not feeling it. And that's cool too. Like, you have to allow for fluidity and boundaries and in ways of relating to other people.
Yeah, it's not always cut as so. Just like any relationship, right?
Totally.
There's a fluidity to it.
Yeah, we always change, and the constant is, like, checking in with one another, really.
Yes.
Where are you at? how are you feeling about this or this specific person or this specific thing?
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with you doing this.
Yeah.
Now we know where we can play within that new thing we're trying to develop with one another, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So with people in this conscious spiritual community and not in this conscious spiritual community, just being alive in this world, in this society at this point and walking this path, but wanting to bring more conscious awareness into their relationship, right? What would be like something you would say is like a takeaway for people? Because this is really important. I think we all grew up with this idea of like the one, you know, or the one, the infinite one. It's so funny, right? Because like at New Year's Eve, I remember I was talking to Angie, another guest, and I'm like, oh my God, holy shit, I'm the one. Like, you know, I meet someone and in the back of my head, I'm like, are you the one? Are you the one? Are you the one? It's like always there. And then when I finally got like, no, I'm the one, this is it, I'm it. And then like 2 weeks later, I met someone who's totally cool, like, and not the one because I'm the one. But do you know what I mean? So
we've been talking about that, and she came up with a good concept about it. What did we talk about, remember?
I don't fully remember what I told you.
Well, it was just we were talking about whatever some night, and we were trying to realize everyone else that we relate with is secondary.
Right.
To say someone as our primary partner doesn't make sense because
You're
we're
primary partner.
like what you just said.
Totally.
The realization that I'm my primary partner before anyone else. I have to have those things with myself.
And then your secondary partner is the other person.
Or whatever you want to leave it.
It's just labels, right?
Yeah.
Open, monogamous, polyamorous. They're just labels that you play under and make it your own.
Yeah, and it definitely helps with like defining what your relationship is about and just realizing it in your head. You don't have to play by any rules, and you can come up with your own concepts, and we do it all the time. Because nothing fully represents you or your relationship unless you freaking create it.
I think I could take away too, for relationships in general, is don't be afraid to be real and raw, because that's what life is as a human. You know, above all other things, if we look at nature, things are raw and it's real. There's real things happening, and those things are our feelings and our thoughts and the things that we've done. If we can talk about that, then we're being real, a real human. And that's how we greater understand each other, when we talk about our story, our feelings, our thoughts.
And like just totally let it out, like be angry at each other. I've definitely told Eric to fuck off and like, I hate you.
You've been in your element, in your moment.
Yeah,
being honest and truthful into what
and
you're
it's
feeling.
so powerful.
Yeah.
To say whatever just comes up.
Yes.
Doesn't
Definitely
mean you
learning from
fully
her.
mean it.
You're learning from her.
To just let raw emotion out.
Very good.
Sometimes words don't really interpret the feeling, because the feeling is coming down into you, and then it has to be interpreted.
Right.
When you're in that moment of just a lot of feeling, things are going to come out. But most of the time we're so, like, I used to take things so personally.
Right.
Oh, why did you say that? But it's like, it's okay. It's just raw emotion.
It doesn't even have to have anything to do with him. It might be my own trauma just coming up. But the fact that I can say it even to you, it's very powerful.
Yeah. And that he can hold space for you.
Exactly, totally.
To just be in that experience.
Yeah, totally.
Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I'm so happy you came onto the show. I know that this conversation is going to make a difference for a lot of people watching. If you guys liked more of this and you want to learn more about these two wonderful epic people, then there will be links below the video so you can follow them on Instagram or Facebook and reach out. And I guess the last thing I really want to say is, you guys are awesome. I love you. Thank you for being here. And remember that you really are changing the world simply by loving your own. This is Vanessa. You're watching Coffee Break with Vanessa, and we will be back next Thursday with a very unique show with no guests, something different. And it'll be in a totally different location, and I can't wait to share with you then. So until then, love you, love you, love you. Thank you. Bye. See you next week.